Early one morning in October 2021, Pastor Liezel de Jager went for a jog. She returned to her home in KwaZulu-Natal only to be murdered. Her killer left her body at the back door of her home. He is still free. Seeking justice for his daughter is Henk van Zyl. Morning, Henk.
Morning, Chris.
I understand how traumatic it is for you to talk about this. Considering that you yourself spent many, many years in the police force, tell us about your career.
Thank you, Chris, for the opportunity and for your viewers for listening. 581 days ago, our lives changed forever in a way that we never imagined. Even though I was a senior member of the South African police force or police service for 22 years. And after that, I spent the majority of the rest of my career in police reform and local development related projects abroad, of which 10 years plus was for the United Nations. My career started in the Northern Cape in 1979, in a small police station where we basically worked with everything from murder cases to stock theft, etc. It went through Germiston, Groblersdal, Miljoenskop, and my career ended as the manager of the police academy in Graaff Reinet, where I retired as a colonel. And after that, I went to various countries where we did police reform, amongst others in Bangladesh, where we introduced the so-called AFIS, automatic fingerprint analysis system, ballistic systems, human resources, legal reforms, etc. for many years, quite successfully in that time. Even as a best practice, I brought a senior delegation to South Africa to see our forensic capability at that stage, which was quite good and recognized. That is in very short my background as a police officer in South Africa.
What an extensive career. But I'm sure you never thought that you would have to watch the police try to solve the murder of your own daughter.
No, Chris, you can't imagine this, and there still remains, after so long a time, very traumatic for me to talk about, for my family to talk about, and I thought that this interview will be very structured and to some extent easy as we're dealing with facts, but the emotion is lying very shallow, as you can understand.
I can understand.
It's difficult. I was never a detective. I was never a specialist investigator. But at some stage, we trained investigators. We trained detectives in the institution which I managed. And therefore, I'm not a total novice in the investigation of high-profile cases, murder cases, etc. And it was and still is a very traumatic experience for me to watch it. Because you must remember, after so many years, many people say once a policeman, always a policeman. There's still a big part of me that absolutely believe in this organization. The rule of law is sacrosanct to me. It is not something that I talk about or that I can share with someone. It's something that I lived for many, many years and still living, still believing. But I can tell you what we experienced the last few months, approximately 17 months, to say that it's a shocking experience is to put it very mild.
I can imagine how hard it must be for you not to say, let me solve my my daughter's murder myself. Instead, you are powerless. You have to watch the police investigation from the sidelines. You cannot interfere. Please tell us how you have experienced this police investigation.
Chris, there is mixed feelings when I talk about this. First of all, maybe the fact that I'm an ex-police officer, that I know a little bit about court proceedings and the legal aspect of it, the proof of evidence aspect of it, maybe that was my downfall in always believing in the police, not to interfere, because there's a chain of evidence. If I start interfering, I can inadvertently destroy evidence or make it inadmissible at court. And that's why I decided to be close with the investigation, but not to interfere at all costs, to advise friends, family, not to interfere and to give the police a fair chance. Because let me tell you, previously before this interview, I also mentioned it to you and many people. I absolutely believe there are still a lot of very competent, dedicated police officers out there. We are hearing in the press about how bad it is, and it is. It's even worse that we hear. But there are a lot of good people. There are a lot of dedicated people. And this investigation started, to my mind, a little bit shaky, but not bad. There was a captain, the head of detectives of Amanzimtoti, who attended the crime scene. And the same day, the 13th of October, in the afternoon, approximately 5 o'clock, I was on the scene. Everything was cleaned up. There was not a trace of it, which was a little bit surprise to me, but afterwards it was communicated to me that the police investigation on the scene is finished and that they wanted to remove all the evidence, the blood, to make sure that we and the children are not traumatized by seeing it, which is to some extent understandable. 2 days later, he and his people was replaced by a so-called high-profile team of investigators, which turned out not really to be the case, but they were replaced by an investigator. And there was also a team, very professional, of criminologists that came from Pretoria. That was, if I remember correct, 4 days, maybe 5 days in Amanzimtoti. Made a good impression on me, brought out a very good report, which is, of course, confidential at the present moment. But I had insight in it. Now, when we talk about the investigation itself and the investigator, in the beginning there was very good communication, empathetic, looks very professional, very sure about what is going on, what is not going on. And the individual came across as experienced, know what he's doing, etc., etc. But then over the next few weeks and months, communication became less and less. When I call the investigator, if I can reach him, he would maybe eventually tell me a story of where the investigation is now and what he's going to do very soon, either tomorrow or this afternoon or next week. And then 2-3 weeks later, when there's still nothing, I call him again and I get exactly the same story as if we haven't had a chat before. This developed into, eventually, I got in contact with his supervisor at district level, which is a full colonel, by the way. Friendly, professional, eventually, when I reached him. But it sort of appeared to me that he knows about the case, but he doesn't really up to date on the finer detail, which was not really acceptable to me. Gave him a chance. Few weeks later, talked again, and excuses. Even after I communicate a number of inconsistencies rather. Issues that is bothering me, things that is totally unacceptable, no real action that I was aware of. To give you one example, when you have to send electronic devices to forensics, to cybercrime, to be investigated, a new law was promulgated that changed the procedure, and that was, as far as I remember, approximately in December 2021. Either the old system or the new system, acceptable practice would be that at least in the first month of the investigation, that court order should be obtained and issued to forensics so that they can start their work and do their work. That was not done. That was not done after 6 months, after a year, with lots of stories that is totally unacceptable to me. And frankly, it was communicated to me that it was done sometime this year. I can't remember exactly when, but I still didn't have confirmation that it actually did happen. I have no idea if anything in forensics was done, any cybercrime analysis was done. I just don't know. I don't want to go into devices and reasons. We've discussed it before this interview, but I don't want to damage the little bit of an investigation that there is by sharing too much on this issue on the air. But the fact remains, those basic investigations was not done in a timely and professional manner. And my big concern is that evidence have a shelf life, especially electronic evidence. And I'm just not sure that the main evidence, the key evidence to my mind, is still existing in cyberspace because of this time delay. It might be, it might not be. And I do not have any idea why it is like this. You know, from the start, I have decided not to look over the shoulder of the investigators constantly, because I can understand also that frustration. So I gave the organization a lot of rope. But I've counted yesterday in preparation of this interview, at least 91 times I've been in contact. And that is excluding all WhatsApp calls and all telephone calls of the first 9 months, because there's on my mobile phone not a record of it. So what I'm talking about is WhatsApp communication in message. I'm talking about the last few months WhatsApp calls, mobile phone calls, at least 91. That average out to at least once a week. And I can assure you, this is my communication. And I can assure you also that this is not all the communication. There is more. So from my side, I tried and I tried. In December last year, I approached police headquarters, specialized crime investigation, by email. And I set out the urgency. I set out the reasons, even the potential danger to our family and our grandchildren. And I requested that this investigation is carried on by this unit, which is exactly for this type of incidents. I motivated why. My request was not positively considered. However, they immediately reacted, very professional, informed me what the progress according to the feedback of the investigator is, which was nothing new to me. And it was referred back to KwaZulu-Natal in writing that a certain brigadier will most probably contact me shortly. That was on the 8th of December. Since the 8th of December, I had absolutely no communication from the police side. I said in the beginning of this interview, I have mixed feelings. I specifically want to say, the team that came from Pretoria, they were very professional. They did their job. They supported. Even though it's not their task, they tried to keep me up to date on progress. The leading officer went on early retirement in December, and since then, his contact was the last. Nothing since then. So you can understand that I am not very optimistic about this investigation.
So for almost 6 months, you've had no feedback from the police whatsoever.
Nothing.
on the investigation into the murder of your daughter?
No. I have second-handly found out that there is not a legal obligation of the police to inform a complainant or a family member. But as a police officer, I've been trained. Even in something like a theft of a significant amount of money or possessions, even assault with intent of grievous bodily harm, let alone a murder case. Basic practice is just once a month to let the people know that this investigation is still ongoing, or it's been referred to the court, or it's been decided not to prosecute, or whatever the case is. Just once a month. But the police in December, the specific people in KwaZulu-Natal must be extremely busy if they don't even have the time, 2 minutes, to reply on an email, "Sir, we understand and we will keep you informed." Nothing. Not even an acknowledgement that the complaint is now at the police headquarters in KwaZulu-Natal. And I can tell you, Chris, it's difficult for me. Not only the subject that we are talking about, but to talk about an organization that I absolutely believed in this way. This is not who I am. This is not what me and my family are. But we have to.
It's double
we are lost.
for you. Yeah. I'm so sorry to take you back to the painful day of the funeral of your daughter. But I understand something even more dramatic happened there.
Oh, Chris, this was the first big red flag to me. And it's extremely difficult to talk about this. The memorial service was arranged, and there would have been a viewing of the casket in the hearse. Everything was arranged. The body was released after the autopsy, and for some other reason, just a day or so before the funeral, I phoned the investigation officer and I said, "Listen, you guys are sure you have what you need from the autopsy?" And he assured me. I said, "I need to bring it under your attention again. This is going to be a cremation. So this is the only chance that you will have for a proper autopsy." "No, sir, everything is done. Rest assured." A little while later, I got a call from the funeral parlor and said, "Sir, but you know about it. The police requested they want the body back, and it might interfere with the preparation time, etc., etc." I said, "Yeah, I don't know about it, but I can imagine what happened." And I called them. And then the investigating officer explained to me, but there was something that was not done. He found out, fortunately, and it's now corrected. Now, that was not an easy thing, but we handled it. And now, after 17 months, as far as I know, the full autopsy report has not been handed in. And that has been confirmed on the 8th of December in writing to me, that the autopsy is still outstanding. Now, I just cannot understand it.
Have you reached the stage where you are completely losing faith in justice for your daughter?
Chris, I will never totally lose faith in that. We don't have the luxury to give up. We have to keep believing. We are parents and we are siblings. We cannot forget, and we cannot say that we've totally lost faith. To a large extent, I've lost faith in the South African Police Service. But where do you go? They have the authority to investigate. They have all the evidence, hopefully still. This is not a case that was to court, that was badly investigated, and there was an acquittal. There is no docket that is prepared, ready for court as far as I'm aware. And definitely there was not on the 8th of December, more than a year after her death. There was no reason given to me why simple things was not done that were supposed to be done in the first month. They still show outstanding. You've saw the notes. You know what I'm talking about. Let's not air them the specifics, but you know what I'm talking about. So I have to keep the faith. I have to keep smiling, and I have to keep saying that I believe in the rule of law. But the institution? No. I don't believe in the institution anymore. And I hope that someone can help. I hope that someone can help, because imagine, after 22 years in this organization, the knowledge that I have, the access that I still have here and there to people that I know that can even give me informal advice or information. And this is what I'm getting. Imagine, just imagine, the single parent sitting in a squatter camp. What justice is there for that person? Even walk down the street and talk to someone here in my neighborhood that doesn't have the knowledge or the access that I have. And please remember, I've said it over and over, I don't want special treatment. I just want what every citizen in this country deserves, what the Constitution is promising us. We want protection. We want justice for our people that cannot talk for themselves anymore. This country has been through so much. We have the human capital. We have the finances. We have the tools. But it's just not happening. And it appears to me that even senior people that can make a difference, that's supposed to make a difference. I know, I've been there. That either they totally overworked, or incompetent, or just not interested. And not one of those three reasons that I'm giving is acceptable. It's not acceptable. We cannot accept these kind of service or lack of it.
Henk, I'm so sorry that I've had to take you through all this again and re-traumatize you again, but I hope with you that we can take this forward in a way that can give you hope for justice for your daughter.